I left my favorite type of brush for last in this chapter, and this is the pattern brush. Now with this, you can create very unique patterns that will follow the way you are painting with the brush tools. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to start from scratch and then set up everything and make your brush work perfectly. So it's up to you what type of design you wish to do, but I am going to go for an Asian, Indian inspired pattern. So I am going to draw with the pen tool first of all, and I draw a shape, something like that. And I am going to use the reflect tool on this, click in the center point and hold down Alt and Shift together. Then I'm going to also make sure that these 2 points are joined. So I select the top area and I click on Connect Selected Endpoints. That means now it's one shape. I am going to change the stroke color and size later, but for now, all I want is to duplicate it. So I Alt click and drag it down somewhere around there. And now all I'm going to do is to select these points here on the one on top and press up arrow a couple of times until I get the shape follow the same structure. Now we can even get them closer to each other slightly like that. Now I just need to select the top point and drag it up also slightly further. Now that's starting to look good. And now what I would like to do is also to add a couple of circles in there. But I will actually use this second line for that. So I select that, go into stroke settings, and I'm going to turn on dashed line. And I will turn on cap as well. So each of these points will be caps. And I just increase the size to something around that much. And I will also reduce the dash to 0 point. When it's set to 0 point, you will get perfect circles there. And then I can increase the gap to the way I want it. Maybe a little bit bigger size would work nicely for the circles and the bigger gap as well, like that. Now I will also make sure I set this option up, so aligns the dashes to corners and path ends, so it fits perfectly. Now I can draw another shape. I just hold down Shift to draw a perfect circle, and I will actually press Shift X on this, so we don't need the stroke, just a filled color. And I will just make sure that it's aligned to the center of this shape. And then I duplicate this circle, make it smaller, and then use the reflect tool again and duplicate it onto the other side, holding down Alt and Shift or Option Shift on Mac. I might move this bigger circle down a bit, and maybe I put another additional circle up there. Just make it slightly smaller than the others. Now, just to make it a little bit more exciting, just to make it a little bit more complex, I'm going to duplicate this path again. So we have another version of that. I remove the fill color, and that's, by the way, we need to do from the other 2 strokes as well. So I just remove that. And then on this one here on the top, once again, what I'm going to edit is select these points, drag them up slightly like that. And then the whole path, I just move down a bit closer. Now, once again, to have a little bit more complexity, I will duplicate this circle again. I press Shift X, so it becomes an outline. And then I will duplicate this once more and maybe make it smaller, something like that. Place it up here. And then I will make another copy and put that somewhere around there. Now I can select these circles and use the reflect tool, center point, Alt Shift or Option Shift, and again reflect them. Now it's time to add a little bit of color on it. So I'm going to select a color. I will probably pick this red color, increase the size of that line. Then I will select the dots and maybe choose an orange color for it. I will select another color for these, maybe purple. And then we can also select these circles. And maybe the big one I will set red. And then these other ones I am going to set to orange. And then the circles I'm going to change to another color. Maybe again use the purple on those. I can always have this circle coming in front of the others. and we could do so much more changes. But what I normally do at this point is I duplicate the whole design. So the first stage was the actual creation of a segment of the pattern. And just so you can imagine, this is how it's going to look like roughly. So once they are put next to each other, and it's going to continue it. What's important is to make sure that the overlap or the borders will look perfectly seamless. So just to understand what I'm going to do, I'll keep it here underneath. And I'm going to select these dotted lines first, and also this line here, because these are the ones that are going to meet. So we have to make sure that they are seamlessly flowing into one another. Now for this, my strokes will need to be expanded. So I choose expand appearance, and then expand again to make sure that even the dashed lines are going to turn into little circles. And this is where it's worth zooming in a bit, because we have to be a bit more precise here. You notice I already opened up my rulers. That's Control or Command R. And once you have that, you can align the ruler onto these circles here. And then I do the same again on the right side, so align it to that point there. Now we won't need half of these circles, so what I can do is use the eraser tool and just erase out of it like that, and then I will do the same thing on the other side as well. I will repeat the same here on the purple lines, so holding down Alt, Erase from the other side as well. And now we just have to sort out the red line. So what I would do with that is actually to set another ruler up, and this ruler I'm going to set here in the middle, and I will actually delete half of this. So I'm going to cut this in half like that. And now that we have that ready, we can come to this side here as well, and I am going to just drag this point slightly further out. So that point there, I will drag a little bit further out until it reaches that point, and then we can always adjust this if we want to, but I'm actually fine with it the way it is. But then also we have to use the eraser tool and cut this off here. Now, if you don't want the eraser tool, you can also be actually a bit more precise by using the rectangle tool, because that will snap to the guide. And then when you select these two shapes, you can just use the shape builder tool to cut instead of using the eraser tool with the Alt and Option keys. Now this looks a little bit better already. We need to just duplicate this by using the reflect tool, click on the guide as the center point, and then Alt, Shift, held down together, and we created the other side. Now at this point you can decide whether you still want to keep the original design or not. I prefer to keep it because there I still have control over things like the stroke options, so you can change the gap, you can change the size of those circles, while on this one that's not available anymore because it's all expanded. Now what we need to do is to select all this together, and normally what I do is I group them together. So Control G or Command G, and then once it's a group, you can double check here, yeah, it is a group. Then we can drag and drop the whole thing into the brushes panel. And of course I want to save it as a pattern brush. Then I click OK. And we can already see how it's going to look like. One of the things that I normally change is for the fit, the approximate path. And then you can see that if you use straight lines in the corners, we will have a little bit of a problem, but that can be customized. So you can actually create a separate shape for the corners, or you can choose an option called auto centered. And that actually looks already better. Now here we also have scaling option. So if we feel like it's too big, we can also scale it. But I'm just going to keep that on 100 for now. And that's how we saved our brush. So now if I go to another canvas, I just quickly create another artboard. And I select the brush tool. Having that pattern brush selected, I can start drawing already. Now it doesn't look great because it's too big. So what I do is I'm going to reduce the stroke size to 0.25, and then we will have already a little bit more along the path. But if I want to make it even smaller, I can go back into the options and I just reduce the percentage here. Keeping the preview on, we can see it in the background and immediately starts to update. So the more elements you have, the better usually it's going to look like. So I can now click OK, apply to strokes, and now I can keep drawing with the brush. So let's have a closer look and maybe draw another line across and so on and so forth. So you can see how nicely it works. But the best thing is once you start applying a pattern brush on an actual shape. So if I use the ellipse tool, for example, and I draw a circle like this, and then I go into brushes and click on that pattern brush that we created, that's when the magic happens. And of course, I can select this ellipse, copy, paste it, and then reduce it in size. Then I can go up to recolor artwork and maybe choose edit, lock the colors together, turn them around to recolor them quickly, just to have variety between the colors. And by the way, we will come back to recolor artwork and I explain it in more detail, but for now, I just wanted to show that very quickly. You can even overlap these, and of course, you can create multiple versions of your pattern. And I still haven't showed you everything that you can do with brushes in Illustrator, because in the next video, we will again raise the stake, and now we will start using images as brushes.